Welcome back for Module 6. Let's talk about the executive branch. So think about who's really in charge. Is it the mayor? Is it the governor? Is it the president? The department secretary, a director, city manager, superintendent, commissioner? So thinking about how executive power actually works in public administration is what we're doing today. So the executive branch, at the federal level, it implements and enforces laws passed by Congress, manages 2 million civil employees, oversees trillions of dollars in annual spending, and it coordinates national security and foreign policy. It also includes a number of departments, agencies, and commissions. The civilian enterprise of the federal government and the executive branch therein has a number of different departments, 16 in all, and you can see a selection of them here. And all the alphabet soup worth of acronym names that operate under them. State and local executive power includes governors, mayor, county executives. The governor appoints cabinet secretaries and senior agency heads, sets budget priorities, issues executive orders and proclamations, and coordinates states' response to emergencies. The mayor makes departmental appointments, sets citywide priorities, represents community values and expectations, and manages crises. If you think about a county manager, a city manager role, they run the day-to-day operations. They hire and supervise the department directors, and they implement policy and budget direction. Let's think about organization by function. How government organizes work. There are traditional functions like managing money, public health and safety, national security, foreign affairs, and additional things that are more in the modern era, or at least since the 1960s on. Transportation infrastructure, environmental protection, health and human services, and economic regulation. Public safety organization patterns, we can think about different ways to structure it. Functional organizational structure, separate fire, the EMS, and public works department. Within those, there are specialized units, and there's clear expertise and accountability. There's often integrated organizations where you have public safety departments combining multiple functions, cross-training their personnel, and sharing resources. And you can think about these in terms of networked organizations where you have multiple agencies working together through partnerships. The chief executive is in a bit of a paradox. They're in charge, but not always in control. They may appear that way, but their management structure is largely dictated by others. Legislatures create the agencies, they set the mission, and they control budgets. And civil service rules somewhat limit personnel decisions. In practice, these constraints lead to those from the legislature creating agency, setting their missions, allocating budgets. There's legal constraints like civil service rules for firing and hiring, union contracts, court orders. Then there's political constraints like electoral accountability, public opinion, interest group pressures. We can do a case study here of a school superintendent leadership and the constraints on their authority. What they can do. They can deal with daily operations, resource deployment, culture and morale, community relations. What they often can't control is budget and staffing, state certification, teacher union contracts, and court-ordered special education compliance. Executive branch components. The federal structure, you think you have all these executive departments and a number of independent agencies. Independent agencies and the logic. Honestly, this is in the book, and it's going to be examined from the traditional sense, though this legal landscape has recently changed due to Supreme Court rulings. So the reason for independent agencies is to separate them from direct executive control due to their expertise, to avoid political interference, for credibility, and for coordination. The operational challenges of the executive is managing large, complex organizations, coordinating multiple agencies with different cultures, balancing completing priorities and limited resources, and responding to crises and emergencies. The political challenges include implementing policies that you may not have designed, managing relations with legislature and interest groups, and maintaining public support and confidence. Leadership styles. There's different approaches to executive authority. There's the authoritative style, the clear direction, top-down control, a more of a collaborative approach, and a more adaptive approach. E-government and the digital transformation is changing a number of different ways that the executive operates, including citizen services, internal operations, and changing transparency and accountability. There's a number of different examples that you can cite related to permitting and licensing, public health and the environment, and education and the workforce. There's some benefits and challenges. The benefits are possible efficiency, faster processing, reduced paperwork, accessibility, transparency, and cost savings. And the challenges are not everybody has the access or skills. This is the digital divide. Security, privacy, and implementation. There's a number of different coordination challenges the executive faces. This is what we call making the system work together. You can think of horizontal coordinations, coordinating agencies that are operating at the same level. Vertical coordination, which is coordinating agencies operating at different levels of government. And network coordination, coordinating agencies along with public, private, nonprofit partners. You can think of the executive and the situation of a crisis. The role there is rapid decisions, clear communication and a consistent messaging, coordination, and resource mobilization. How do we hold the executives accountable? One is through the election box. Elections determine who is the executive, and public opinion affects re-election chances. Legislative oversight, judicial review, and administrative accountability. Challenges of the modern executive are resource constraints, the rapid pace of technology, social and political polarization, and changes in the workforce. The future of executive leadership is continued data-driven leadership, using analytics for decision-making, performance management, accountability. Leading across networks is very important. Being able to adapt to change is indeed important as well. And being inclusive in your leadership style. You, one day, may perhaps be an executive of an organization, and you're going to need technical skills, you're going to need political skills, leadership skills, and you're going to have to ground that with an ethical foundation. So think about your own leadership style. How do you balance your professional judgment with politics? What strategies do you use to coordinate multiple agencies? How do you maintain accountability? What role should technology play? And how do you lead when you don't have complete control? So in this module, we discussed executive power is more constrained than it appears. Leadership requires influence and coalition building. Modern executive face a number of different challenges. Technology is transforming things. Coordinating across agency levels is essential and challenging. Future leaders are going to need technical, political, and ethical skills. And crisis management is an increasingly important function. That's it for executive leadership. Thank you.